The application, like I said, for myself and my partner, like I said, she was having my little girl at the time. Obviously was turned down because obviously I would have to be homeless or be in a situation where I'd have to make myself homeless to be accredited for a higher banding.
This is Lewisham. Just like the rest of London, it's facing a housing crisis. Around 10,000 residents are currently on the housing list, and the council can only meet 1/10 of that demand.
Housing is one of my main concerns. There are so many families in this borough who are living in homes that are unsuitable. Many of these homes are riddled with damp that's affecting our children and our young people. The number one admission for children and young people at Lewisham Hospital is asthma. That's due to the poor housing conditions. We also have over 1,000 families who are homeless across the borough, living in temporary accommodations, poor, but also living in bedsits. Bedsits that are, well, the nicest way to say are poor. Why are they not fixing these housing conditions when these tenants are paying their rent? So they deserve to have decent homes.
We've had a massive increase in the number of homeless families in Lewisham. The majority of families are made homeless because landlords have put their rent up, over 80%. So, and every single day you come to Lewisham Council, you can see families literally arriving with their suitcases because they've been made homeless. But every home we lose, we're really struggling to keep up. So we have since 2014 approved the building of 500 new council homes, taking a long time to get that. It's across 40 different sites in the council. We'll be treading water because in that time we've also lost the similar number through Right to Buy.
With London's population set to increase by up to 2 million in the next 25 years, Lewisham is predicted to have the second highest growth amongst all boroughs. According to politicians, the housing stock is simply not meeting the demand. I went out to see the effects this was having on its residents.
They put us in a temporary hostel in Catford. Again, we was all in the same room. It was disgusting. From there, they then moved us to another hostel in Brockley. Again, that was disgusting. I've had my bags, my clothing, even my BA certificate destroyed down to damp and mould in this room. Their response is, at the end of the day, there's a big issue in terms of housing. They're trying to do everything they can. At the end of the day, at least we're in somewhere. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is it needs to be suitable in terms of health and safety. Because obviously my mum had cancer. This wasn't a suitable living condition for her. Like, this is a 2-bedroom flat and there's 3 of us.
I've been homeless since 2015, since our landlord decided he wanted his property back. And we've been in temporary accommodation ever since. About 5 different temporary accommodations. There was a horrific smell coming from in that you could smell it even when you're going to the front door, and no one knew what it was, but it was very a nasty smell. Then I found out that it was rats. They poisoned them, but they didn't actually get rid of the dead bodies of the rats. So therefore I went back to the council again because at that time I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I could not and still can't be around anything where I can catch an infection.
Some people classify housing as unhealthy, unsuitable and unstable, the different kinds of poor housing. So unhealthy housing is a very significant issue. We know that unhealthy housing, for example damp housing, they're very significant allergens for respiratory illness, particularly asthma. But if you look at other health effects, there are significant behavioural and mental effects of being in poor housing. If you look at the cost to the NHS overall, not talking about Lewisham obviously, but the whole NHS cost, I think at 2015 figures, the health impacts of poor housing was estimated to be a cost of about 1.4 billion. So it's a very, very large issue.
In the Mayor of London's housing plan, he intends to resolve the problem by focusing on the construction of affordable homes. But what are they, and can people actually afford them?
There were some decisions made in 2010 when the coalition government came into office that made the situation worse. In particular, they did two things. They reduced the subsidy that central government was paying for new social housing very dramatically, and they also invented this thing called affordable housing.
Some housing is affordable to anybody, and some of the homes around us now are affordable to someone, but they're not going to be affordable to the 300,000 plus people on housing registers in waiting list, that is, in London at the moment. There is a huge mismatch there between where the emphasis is in terms of the new homes that Khan is planning and where the bulk of the need lies.
Because of their situation, they're probably going to have some sort of debt, whether or not, that's rent arrears or not. They're not going to be able to find a deposit. And then the cost of the shared ownership, it doesn't equate to the old council rents at all. I've got a family that I'm working with at the moment who live on the 9th floor. She has 2 children, one of whom's got ASD. And she's been bidding on properties for 9 years.
I contacted Lewisham Homes, but they declined. So the question is now, what do the borough's leaders intend on doing to solve this issue?
When we talk about affordable housing, this should be predominantly social housing at social housing rents. And then when we look at affordable, if you like, to me that's a London living rents. We've also bought off the open market 105 homes, which we're giving to homeless families. So actually going out there, competing against private landlords and buying them, bringing them into public ownership.
If everyone who is involved can agree that we need a 10-year programme, and to some extent that we agree that 10-year programme will not change when the politics changes, and that's one of the key things, it might just be possible.